You're in the group chat. 8 people. It's been active for 40 minutes. You've read every message. You haven't said a word. You're not ignoring them. You're not bored. You just don't have anything to say here, so you stay quiet. And then later, you text one of them privately, and suddenly you have 3 paragraphs to say. Same person, same day, same topic, completely different presence. Most people would call this shy, or socially awkward, or just introverted. But here's what they don't understand. You're not quiet because you have nothing to say. You're not withdrawn because you don't like people. And you're definitely not an introvert in the way most articles describe. You're not 2 different people. You're one person running 2 different operating systems. And once you understand the difference, you'll stop trying to fix the version of yourself that was never broken. Let's get into it. Here's what most people get wrong about this pattern. They think it's about confidence, like you just need to speak up more. It's not about confidence. It's about bandwidth. Cognitive psychologist Nelson Cowan's research on working memory found that the human brain has a fixed capacity for processing social information. In a group, your brain is tracking multiple conversations, reading multiple faces, anticipating multiple reactions. That's not anxiety. That's just how many variables your brain is processing at once. For most people, the brain handles this automatically. For people wired like you, every new person in the room adds another process running in the background. By 5 people deep, there's no bandwidth left for anything meaningful. So you go quiet. Not because you're shy, because you're full. You were probably the child who didn't want to play with 7 kids at once. You wanted one friend to build something with. You didn't dislike the group. You just couldn't find yourself inside it. You were that child, and your brain never changed how it prioritizes connection. So let's break down the 4 signs that you come alive one-on-one, and what each one is actually telling you. Sign 1. In groups, you sound like a background character in your own life. You have opinions. You have stories. You have things you want to say. But somehow in a group, the version of you that shows up is a toned-down, mostly nodding version. Most people would say you lack presence, that you need to be more assertive. It's not that. This is what psychologist Matthias Mehl's research on conversation quality identified as depth displacement. When the environment doesn't allow for the kind of exchange your brain is wired for, your brain stops trying. You're not failing to contribute. Your brain is declining to spend effort on surface-level input when the reward it's looking for isn't available. You're at a dinner with 6 people. Fast conversation, small jokes, half-formed opinions. When someone asks your view, you give the shortened version because the full version would slow everything down, and you can feel the group wanting momentum, not depth, not a lack of presence. Your actual presence requires conditions this setting doesn't offer. Sign 2. When someone pulls you aside for a real conversation, something shifts. Same event, same day. You've been mostly silent for 2 hours. And then one person asks you a real question. And suddenly, the words are there, fully formed, clear. People assume you just needed to warm up. That's not what happened. This is what researchers describe as the shift from high-stimulation to low-stimulation processing. In a group, your brain spent 90% of its energy filtering, tracking who said what, what's safe to say, what's already been said. In a one-on-one conversation, almost all of that disappears. The filtering bandwidth collapses, and the thinking bandwidth finally has room. You were at a work event, mostly quiet all evening. Then you ended up in a corner with one person talking about something neither of you expected. You were articulate, you were funny, you were yourself, and you thought, where was that version of me 2 hours ago? Not slow to warm up, operating in a completely different cognitive mode. Sign 3. You'd rather skip the party and have coffee with one person who was there. You got invited. Maybe you went. Either way, the part you actually wanted wasn't the party. It was the possibility of a real conversation with one of the 10 people there. Most people think this is anti-social. It's the opposite. This is what psychologist Jonathan Cheek, in his research on 4 types of introversion, called depth-oriented sociality. Your drive for connection is extremely high, but the form that registers as meaningful is narrow. You are not less social than other people. You just define social differently. A 2-hour coffee with one person telling you something real feels more socially nourishing than a 6-hour party with 30 people. A friend invited you to their birthday drinks. You went. You spent most of it slightly uncomfortable. But you remember clearly a 20-minute conversation outside with one person about something that genuinely mattered. That 20 minutes was the entire evening for you. The other 5 hours were just the surrounding weather. Not antisocial. Specifically, social. Sign 4. You can feel the exact moment a conversation becomes real, and it changes everything in you. You're talking to someone. Polite. Surface. Weather. Work. Weekend plans. Then one of you says something slightly more honest. And you feel it, physically. The conversation shifting. Your shoulders drop. Your voice changes. You are suddenly there in a way you weren't a minute ago. People would say you're just emotionally attuned. It's more specific than that. This is what researchers studying attunement describe as resonance activation. For you, depth isn't a preference. It's the actual trigger for your full cognitive and emotional presence. Until a conversation crosses a certain threshold of realness, you're technically participating, but not fully present. Once it crosses that threshold, you go from 40% online to 100% online in a single sentence. You were at a work lunch. Polite chat for 15 minutes. Then they mentioned something personal, almost by accident, and something in you instantly arrived. You realized you hadn't actually been there for the 15 minutes before. You had been waiting. Not sensitive. Activation-based. You run on depth the way some people run on caffeine. So, what do you do with all this information? Understand the difference between being bad at groups and being wired differently for connection. Most people who come alive one-on-one spend years assuming something is wrong with them. They read articles about confidence. They try to be more outgoing. The discomfort never goes away because there's nothing wrong. Your system isn't broken. It's calibrated differently. And calibration is not a flaw. Stop measuring your social life by the size of the room. Start measuring it by the quality of the exchange. 5 deep conversations a month is a rich social life. For you, 30 parties of small talk is not. Most people are using someone else's metric to grade a life that doesn't run on that metric. And remember this, the fact that you come alive one-on-one isn't a limitation. It's a specific kind of gift. The people who get the one-on-one version of you are getting something other people never access. You are capable of a depth of presence that the group format literally cannot hold. You don't have a social problem. You have a social preference. Preferences don't need fixing. They need honoring. If you made it this far, you already know. You're not the quiet one. You're the one who waits for the room to thin out, for the real conversation to begin, for the person across from you to say something honest enough to make you want to answer honestly back. That's not shyness. That's discernment. Which sign felt most like you? Tell me in the comments. If this helped you see yourself a little differently, subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from. I'll see you in the next one.